tweet this out. Let's get this going. Let's get this party started. Got my Barry's boot camp water. I had to look big for Dhani. Had to get my reps in. I don't just wake up looking like these guys. You know what I'm saying? Might have to get my push-ups in. Dhani, where is he at? Y'all can hear me. Give me some props. I've never had more props than the person I was interviewing. Thank you, Kate. That's what I'm talking about. I had 10 more props than Dhani. I'm giving myself props. Oh, I can't give myself props. Man, these blab guys are smart. I just be here all day giving myself props. Okay. Dhani doesn't come in 5 minutes. I'm going to start freestyling. Yeah, Eric Willis, how you doing, man? You went to school with Dhani? U of M, late 90s or early 2000s? What's up, Saba? What's up, Ben? What's up, Ross? What's up, crew? How can I see everyone who's on at the same time in Blab? I was at the Blab office yesterday. These Blab guys are cool. Cool guys and girls. They tell very entertaining stories. They've Indian food for lunch. Gave me some. It's fantastic. What's up, Spencer? Their building is incredible. Hosted some events there. Yeah, Blab. And they're always drinking too, right? Always alcohol. How do they get any work done? Just kidding. Oh, Spencer, you're the one telling the stories, man. Now I put a name to a face. Spencer, that was a very entertaining story. Uh-oh. The man is here.
Hey,
Dhani, what's up, man?
I'm trying not to have too much of a glare right now.
Oh,
I am here. I see a whole bunch of names popping up. You have like 22 people on board. I mean, how many people are on right now?
Yes, 80 total, 20 now watching. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. It's beautiful outside, and I think a lot of people are wondering when this storm is going to hit. But I think people forget, right? Meteorologists are like, 75% inaccurate. So, I mean, even though some people have told me that the weather is just going to be ridiculous anyways, but outside in Cincinnati, it's not too bad.
You were in the bow tie to the Product on Live. That is the first.
Well, I think that the bow ties themselves and bow tie cause is pretty much a first, but we've worked with some amazing organizations up to this point, and I'm wearing this is the Flying Pig bow tie, which actually is a marathon. I don't know if I'm going to run the whole thing. Maybe I can take a poll at the end of this product hunt, see if I'm actually going to do the entire 26 miles, or if I just do, 26.2 for all of the purists out there. I'm sorry. Or whether I just do 13.1, but I'm pretty sure I could just do it, right? Raise some money.
Absolutely. Well, what's the cause going to?
So we're going to raise money through the Flying Pig to give to the Bowtie Foundation, which helps youth, underprivileged youth in education. So, always out there in some way, shape, or form, working on a better way to give back as much as possible, and spend a lot of time within the community. Cincinnati, I'll probably pepper a lot of people with a lot of facts about Cincinnati today, but, we have one of the highest giving per capita in the entire country. And a lot of people don't realize that our Tocqueville Society, which, by the way, raises about $62 million a year in comparison to like a San Francisco or a New York City, where they don't even reach, I don't have all my figures right, but probably not even like a quarter of that. And I'm just very proud of the city that I live in.
That's awesome. And we're going to get into it. So, Dhani, this is live, but it's also going to be recorded and going to be released on our podcast where a lot more people can hear it. But first off, welcome to Product on Live. It's a pleasure and honor to have you.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad I'm able to represent with the bow ties, also represent in Cincinnati, represent former NFL player. I know people are probably going to ask me, who's going to win the Super Bowl? We'll save those questions to the very end. And by the way, if whoever I think wins the game and you happen to put some cash down, yeah, you're going to dial in and I'm going to give you my specific account, PayPal, just like send it over. So, but yeah, I'm glad we finally set this up. You know, there's been a lot of people that have talked so positively about Product Hunt Live, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Absolutely, and we have a mutual friend in Nancy Chow, and so going back from years from Ann Arbor, we went to college together, me and Nancy, and I know obviously you.
Where's her question? Where is she? I don't even see her. Is she not online? Because I'm looking right now, you know, ever since, you know, she started moving up the chain over there, you know, doing her thing in Pars and doing her, doing her thing, talking to all those folks in San Francisco, you know.
Mark Zuckerberg and Cheryl are probably meeting with her right now. But I texted her. She'll probably come through. So we'll start with this. When people ask you, what do you do? What do you do?
I say I just make bow ties. I tell people I make bow ties, and you know, and it's funny because I oftentimes get wrapped up in all of the ancillary businesses that I've been so privileged to work on with so many people, but I do many times defer to bow ties because at the end of the day, it's about the greatest service to others. So whether I'm investing in companies through Key or whether I'm supplying, you know, labor workforce and healthcare and IT through higher staffing, or whether I'm providing creative services with a transparent and a purpose-driven way through proclamation. All of those are basically servicing or service to others. And so when I always think about the bow tie, it always brings me back to center and also the reason why.
Yeah. So you spent 11 years in the NFL, fantastic career. I'm curious, when you finished, what did you think you were going to do next? Or how do you even begin to think about life after football? You know, obviously doing so many things now, but take us through that.
No, I think the evolution starts if you're smart enough to predict it at the very beginning of the time that you play the game of football, because you know that by definition it's not going to be for long. I know there's a couple books that are coming out. Is it NFL Confidential that's going to talk a lot about people's perception or one man's perception. There's movies coming out, Concussion, and there's a lot of controversy that's happened over the last couple of years.
Is it warranted?
Really. Say it again.
Is it warranted?
Well, I think controversy is, by virtue of controversy occurring, it is warranted because it's conversation. Controversy is more the terminology, but by virtue of people not having the same opinions, it's controversial. But I think that because so many people are talking about it, it's something that needs to be discussed. It's something that is at the top of people's minds, and right now, because there are so many outlets, social, of which we're on right now, or digital, of which we're on right now, or mainstream media, people are talking about it and people are abuzz, and so people want to know really what's going on. So, going back to your former question in terms of transition or life after the game of football, you have to prepare from the time that you step on the field. And I think it's also prepare yourself from the life lessons that you learn along the way from the coaches and from the players and from the people. I talked about it in my book, The Sportsman, talking about how instrumental your coach is, but how instrumental your friends are, but also the situations that you're put into from a football perspective and as that translates into the world of business. So I was always keen on doing different things, albeit I had to make sure I focused on football, because if I didn't make the play on 4th and 1, I'd be out of a job. And so I made sure that I made those plays on 4th and 1. And going into the transition, it's also being aware of the people that are around you and opportunities that exist. And so in conversation with my friend Luke Raymond, as we started VMG Creative, in conversations with my friend Pete and Al over at Redline Films, and when we started, my first show that I ever did was on ESPN2. It was called Timeless. I mean, that was just so far back, and working with the NFL Network when they first started, and now moving up to the ranks of working with NBC and working with Spike TV and having a chance to work with CNN and having a chance to work with all these different amazing networks in the television space. And then also being able to translate that into the world of creativity. Now having two agencies, one being VMG Creative and another one being Proclamation. And being able to diversify myself, but also being able to invest with people and companies and key capital. But going back, as I said before, what is the reason why? And thinking about bow ties and thinking about really a service to others. So regardless if I'm on a network or whether I'm working with a business or whether I'm investing in a company and thinking about to the game of football, when you're playing out as an individual, you lose. But when you're playing as a team, you win. And so we consistently, day in and day out, think about how do we win as a team.
Mm-hmm. What do you want your legacy post-football to be? What do we want, people to say that, oh, Dhani Jones was a great football player, but after, he was known for X.
No, X is, I keep going back to it. He took his ego out of the equation and allowed others, including himself, to give back to others, to give back. I think, there's been so many, it's been many times that I get asked that question. And it's also, I think it's also an amazing question to ask people because a lot of times they get stumped because your legacy is almost like a selfish place that you want to be. But at the same time, if you're truly not selfish, it's hard to kind of intersect the two. But yeah, it's really a life where I spent time with service to others. You think back, okay, Mark Zuckerberg just dedicated 99% of his net worth in order to philanthropy and service, and people have their own opinions about that. I think it's
not enough for some people. 45 billion.
But it's a lot of money. Bill Gates, he does the same thing. Steve Jobs does the same thing. President Obama is going to do the same thing with my brother's keeper. I mean, people who have spent their life hard days work and everything that they do, you realize at the end of the day, you can't take it all with you. But most importantly, if you've affected more people along the way, then you've really done something.
Yeah, you have all these endeavors, across fields. What's your sort of philosophy in terms of where you want to be spending your time and how you empower other people to take the lead? And how do you think about, managing across industry?
Well, everything that I work on, other people are far more intelligent than me. So they're the ones that are really leading it. It's like I walk into a room and as much as I talk about bow ties, people say, oh, he's just that football player over there. Right. And I think that you quickly learn in the world of business, sometimes perception is reality. So if perception is reality, I'm just a football player, then that's fine. Mm-hmm. I've surrounded myself with intelligent people that are far better versed than I'll ever be. And it's about being selfless in working with them so that they can be successful. I can be successful too, but we can be successful together. How do we create a community of success? One of the organizations, and at Summit is a great organization where it's a community of success. How do we work together to allow each other to thrive? How do we allow each other to become better? And how do we help each other do that? I want to go back to the last question you asked me too about the legacy. I still want to, there's, aside from service, it's also looking at, I played NFL for 11 years. How do I destroy, and I'm talking about destroy the negative stereotypes that are associated with those that play the game. I want to destroy those. And personally, it's also thinking about, African-American athletes. There's so much negative press. How can I be a force of positivity? How can I unite with those like yourself and everybody else? I don't know how many people are online now, 179, 200, 300. How do I unite with all of you to create a positive version of what should come about once you transition out of the game of football? How can I help you? How can we work together to do things for a greater good?
And tell us more about that. What are the common pitfalls, that football players or other athletes find after leaving.
Right. I think here's the one thing which most people don't realize. When you play football and someone realizes that you're good, you're immediately encircled. You're immediately put into this nest where everybody that has their hands on you wants something, but everybody that has their hands on you wants to protect you from others. So as you increasingly get better and better and start jumping from high school to college, you start becoming that much more insulated. And then you get to the pros, you're that much more insulated. So the one thing that needs to happen is that you start going outside of your insulation to identify great people that have intelligence and wherewithal and resume and tenure so that they can be a part of that world. And a lot of people make the error because they don't find the right people. They don't find the right person. I think, you look at LeBron, he's done a great job with Maverick, and my friend Jamal, and doing, they have shows on TV, they have investments that they've made. They've done a great job. Irving Magic Johnson, what he's been able to do with different brands and diversify himself. Roger Staubach, who's probably, they say, one of the wealthiest players that has transitioned. I mean, those are three people that we hear about, but that's three. We need more. When I think about my university, the University of Michigan, so everybody that's out there, you all know where I went to school, the University of Michigan, established in 1817. It's the greatest university in the world. There's a reason why the ratio of success is so high. And there's a lot. The ratio of success in the league, I'm not sure of the percentage, but we need more.
Right. And we were at Summit together with Dominican Sue, who's also surrounded himself, with mentors like Dan Gilbert.
He's hanging out with Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Dominican Sue is hanging out with Warren Buffett. I keep the article on my desktop to read every day. And I'm waiting for Warren to call me, or you know what? I probably just have to call him because, his partner, he went to Michigan.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's one thing, I'll give you some advice as I'm looking at the names of the people. Maybe that's Nancy across the top. Did she show up? Maybe so. But, one of the things that I do a lot is, not do a lot. The thing I do once a week, I call up a CEO of a company. I call up a founder of a business. Mm-hmm. You think about the movie Wall Street. A lot of people watching. Maybe some people have seen it. Maybe some people haven't. The art of the cold call is one of the greatest arts that you could never learn unless you start cold calling people. And everybody thinks, well, you maybe cold call like certain level. No, go right to the top.
Right.
All of them. They want to talk to you because going back to talk about football, they've too been isolated, right? So it's important for you to take them out of their isolation and find a point of connectivity. Now, I see people putting on this chat on the right-hand side, Sue's no role model. Look, he's an aggressive football player like everybody else that plays the game, all right? When he is off the field, he's focused on business. The game of football is inherently rough. That's just how the game is played. So I love his busy savviness. People may not respect the way that he plays the game, but I know that when he gets out there, he wins.
And talking about business, we'll get to the game in a sec. This question is from Spencer. What's been the most difficult obstacle in transitioning from your athletic career to business? Like, what's the biggest obstacle?
I'd say there's a lot of obstacles, and I can't list all of them. I would say the one that people probably don't talk about as much is understanding that the world is not a locker room. The world is not a locker room. People are sensitive. People are sensitive. People don't always like to be joked with. People don't always, warm up to lightheartedness and immaturity. In the locker room, it's just what we do. We hang out. It's what?
Not all men,
It's not all men. It's like in the locker room, it's a completely different culture, and the world is not always the world is not the locker room. So I think that one of the biggest hurdles for anybody that's played a team sport, and those that are out there probably know this, give me some high fives because I have 275 now. You've played team sports, and then all of a sudden you go from team sports to the business room. and it's a bunch of people that haven't played sports. They just don't get it. Like, why are you coming in being loud? Why are you coming in, hit me on the back and just joking with me? Why are you trying to slap the food off my table, just making jokes, Why are you talking about my, like, why are you making fun of me? Like, people get really sensitive. It's just a completely different world. So aside from setting your own schedule, aside from finding your own mentors, aside from allowing people to understand that you have intelligence outside of the game so that they can get to know, like, and trust you. Aside from all that, it's just the world is not a locker room.
Yeah.
If you own your own company, you can make it like a locker room.
True. How have you gone about finding your own mentors?
I would say I'll come back to Summit. When it was 2010, I got to know Jeff Rosenthal and Elliot Bisnow from Summit, and I met a lot of people within that one room. One of the guys I got to know, a guy named Michael Madnick, he kind of sat me down and he said, "You know what? We need to go through a life plan." And I was like, "Life plan? I've been planning my whole life." He's like, no, we need to sit down and map out this life plan. And to make a very long story, 3 days of 12 hours of work, outlining stuff. One of the most impactful pieces was he said, write down all the people that made an impact on you since you can remember. Transitioning from University of Michigan, so write down all the people. When I was in New York playing for the Giants, when I was in Philadelphia playing for the Eagles, when I was in Cincinnati playing for the Bengals, write down that list and then go talk to them. Find out what do they see for you in your future. What do they see? What do they say in terms of your transition? And so that's how it first started, and then it just built from there. And so I think a lot of times we're so fast to move forward on from life that we forget that the past has told us so much. And oftentimes in business, and my size doesn't make me intimidating. It makes me fun because I'm like a big teddy bear. That was from Rodney. But you have to think about the past, and you have to think about how it sets you on the course. And many of the people that have come from your past have relevance in your present day and in your future. You have to be humble enough to take one step back and realize that it's not even a step back. It's really a leap forward because you've acknowledged where you've come from. And so spend time with them and they'll help you propel yourself forward. And that's how I found my mentors. And then it's snowballed from there. Besides that, I just called up everybody that went to the University of Michigan.
Yeah. The biggest network in the world.
It's the biggest network, the most amount of alumni in the world. And I'm very, very proud of my institution of incredible learning.
Mm-hmm. And how did that lead to investing in tech? And
it's I'm in the middle of it. I'm 37 years old, so I've seen my friends start big tech companies. I've seen the world where we were using overhead projectors. I remember the first cell phone when it came out, and I remember people carrying around in the bag. I remember my parents had the hand dial phone that was in the middle of my dad's Caprice Classic, where it had the antenna and the little wrap, and you had to call an operator and talk to them. I remember this. So I've kind of lived through it. And being in Cincinnati, I've seen a lot of big companies, older companies here that have been the, if you will, aircraft carriers of the world that need to change their position. So listen to the older companies that have been in business for a long time, legacy companies. And I watched new businesses occur. And I thought that being in Cincinnati, seeing those companies and seeing the new ones, there was a great position to say, okay, well, your business would be great for here. So how do I invest knowing that I can be a part of the growth of a business, right? So not necessarily just be a passive investor. First and foremost, listen to the founder and see if they need help. And then secondarily, knowing that if you're a good founder, you always ask for help. then identifying ways that as an investor, I can help put them in with other businesses that can allow them to thrive. So, so being a child of transition within the tech world, sitting right within an analog city that needs to become more tech oriented. Now, companies like the brand, organizations like the Brandery and Centrifuge and Uptech and Mortar, all within Cincinnati and Ocean have done a great job, but we can all do more. So that's how I found myself investing in technology, but also understanding that world is here and I want to be a part of it.
And have you resolved, for a long time to be in Cincinnati, or did you think, hey, I could maybe have even a bigger tech impact in San Francisco or New York? Or
here comes here comes fact number 344 about Cincinnati. Cincinnati, you can get to 3/4 of the United States in a day's travel. So I know everybody right now is sitting on the East Coast trying to figure out how come they can't go anywhere because of the snow. But in Cincinnati, we can go everywhere, regardless if it snows or not, because I can just jump in the car and I can be there within a day's travel. While you all are still stuck in the Lincoln Tunnel, Holland Tunnel, you guys are stuck on 495, you guys are stuck on 95, you guys are stuck in Philadelphia on the Schuylkill Parkway. I mean, you guys are stuck all over the place. Right now, I can just jump in the car and just drive because there's no traffic. That's another fact of Cincinnati.
Wow. Yeah, so let's get into the game a little bit. What are the this is questions from Andrew? What are the most common misconceptions people have, either positive or negative, about NFL players?
I think the number one misconception and the number one stereotype is that we're not intelligent. I mean, that is the biggest misnomer in the history of the game of football. Think about it. Okay, our playbook is this big, all right? This big. All right, you see how big my head is? That's how big our playbook is. I'm just giving you a little bit of proportion, all right? I should get some high fives for that. I see the box. That's my head. That's how big the playbook is. I swear to you, that's how big it is. It is page on page on page on page on page on page. Right now, the Patriots are gearing up. Who thinks the Patriots are going to win? I'm just putting it out there. Okay. Who thinks Arizona is going to win? I'm just putting it out there. Carolina? Anybody? Denver? Anybody? Okay. So going back to football, right? So you have all these pages. You have to memorize them and you have to learn and you have to know at a split second or you lose your job. Okay. That takes intelligence. Now, not everybody's smart. So we'll just put it out there. But the biggest misconception is that people that play football are not smart. Everybody has their strengths and their weaknesses. One of mine was that I could learn the playbook, and if anybody asked me a question, I could tell them the answer, and I would help them on the field. But I would say that's one of the biggest misconceptions. So that's one. Number two, that NFL players don't care about anything else except for football. That's a lie. I know plenty of my friends that have played the game of football that are artists. Plenty of my friends that have played the game of football that are chess experts. I don't know. There's so many people think that's all we care about is football. It's not true. I'd say third, that we don't make, I'll skip ahead of some other ones, but this one's very relevant. We don't make good business decisions. How about this? 95% of people in America don't make good business decisions. Okay? It just gets magnified. Oh, there's some high fives. I like that. It just gets magnified. Okay? Not every. How many people know people that are in the startup world that their companies have failed? Someone told me this. Okay, this is a great fact. And this, I'm trying to remember who told me, but someone told me this. It's better to be the 100th employee of a startup business that gets valued at $1 billion than to start your own business. It's because you have a higher chance of you're obviously in a lot of people's opinion, you're going to make more money because if you're in the startup world, your company is doomed to fail, right? 95%, 99% of startups fail. But if you're the 100th employee of $1 billion business, you're going to be more successful. Doesn't that blow your mind? That means that a lot of people fail. And I'm basically saying that a lot of people fail just the same in football. A lot of people just fail. But because people talk about it, it gets magnified. Panthers, Patriots versus Carolina in the Super Bowl. You think so? Really? You think so? I don't know. I'm thinking Arizona. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think Carson is a little bit upset, and I think he deserves to get back there. And it's all about defense. And all of the teams have lost. I'm just letting you know. All of the teams have lost. And I think that Denver is going to beat New England because Von Miller is going to be on fire. He's going to do that thing. You know, that's what Von Miller does. And I think Arizona's going to win too. That's just what I think.
Talk more about, as someone was asking before, about sort of concussions and, injuries. And does the game of football, is that just how it's always going to be, or is there something going to change that can prevent some of these sort of, life altering?
There's a political answer, there's a personal answer, there's a professional answer, there's so many answers. I will say this, the game of football with technology is beginning and has always strived to evolve. There are any number of reasons why things don't evolve, because there's too many chefs in the kitchen. There's not enough technology that's out there. A lot of people are dissatisfied where things are. There's not enough public scrutiny. And maybe right now, all of that is essentially coming to a head, right? So people with ideas and I would say this, the NFL is investing heavily within technology, I think, but a lot of that, a great way to think about it, why is Elon Musk so successful right now with SpaceX? Because NASA decided to step outside from the government to the private sector. Right. And that's why Blue Origin is going to do so well. That's why Virgin Galactic is going to do so well. Now, they're all attacking it in a very different way. So in the same way, the NFL, some might say they're looking to the private sector to start inventing and to start moving the needle forward so that people can be more successful on the field. And I think right now, one of the companies that we work with, one of the projects through Proclamation, our creative agency, this is when I give a shout out, proclamation.com. All of you have startup companies and you need some creative services, or ones that, you have big businesses, just look up proclamation.com. Okay. So, we work with the NFL, GE, as well as Under Armour with the Head Health Challenge. And that's a great program where people from all the way from the Army to Johns Hopkins are looking for ways and innovative approaches to make better helmets so that those impacts don't create those concussions. So, and one of the companies, Under Armour is doing a great job iterating around that. And it takes people from the private sector to create amazing products, because sometimes, that mind right now that's up on this board, one of you is going to come up with something that's life-changing, and the game of football will alter the course of the game of football forever.
Do you think there needs to be more education on what people could do, post football, or how can the league or just society in general help players better plan, for the future?
I think number one, there's a lot of programs, right? I went to the Harvard program with the NFL, and I think that was awesome. I mean, there's a Stanford program, there's a Michigan program, I believe. There's a Penn program. There's a couple different schools that you can go to that you can get sort of this post-career accelerated executive program, right? And there's also money through the NFL and through the NFL Players Association. You can go back to school. So there's plenty of programs. I think that people just need to seek out one another and let the egos drop and find ways to work together, because there's a lot of good that can be done by, if you're in college right now and you're in college at the great University of Michigan and you happen to run across one of the players, ask them what they're interested in and get to know them. I think that a lot of times those egos get in the way where I'm working on this, you're working on that, and we never talk. Just find ways to intersect and cold call, or just bump into people and understand that type of synchronicity or that type of relationship, just formulate it and go out and create stuff together. So I think there are a lot of programs, as I said before, that are out there for players. I think there are a lot of people that are working on programs that are out there that are for players. I know that Stephen Ross, he's done a lot of great things through his related company. I know he's working on some programs as well. The NFL Player Association, and there's a lot of other companies. I just talked to a guy today who started a company called Higher Purpose, and he's working with the military veterans. And it'd be interesting to see military veterans as they re-enter the marketplace. Right, they have to also start thinking outside the box. What other things do they want to do? And it's very similar to the game of football. You have to start thinking outside of the area of which you've done for so long. Now start to diversify yourself. So it takes not just one or two or three. It takes multiple companies. It takes multiple people. It takes a change of mindset, and it takes an openness of thought to help the next person evolve. And part of the things that I work on too is the reason why I want to create, and while I'm creating and while I'm finding different people to work with, is that as we build those businesses, personally, I'm investing time and energy in hopefully one day being a pipeline for players to come in and work with me.
Right.
And then once they decide that they've learned a lot of things through sort of the school of business, right? It's a Goldman Sachs model. Yeah. That therefore they can move out of that. And then per Richard Branson, great book, Born Like a Virgin, he invests in people that are in his company. He says, look, if you got an idea, in a good British accent, which I can't do very well, which, by the way, I sat next to I hung out with Richard Branson on a Delta flight, by the way, from New York City to the UK. That's just like a little buzz. Okay. So anyways, so, I want somebody who worked with me, that played in the league, that's going to work with me, that's going to learn different aspects, and then come to me and say, hey, I've got an idea, Dhani. Then I'm going to say, hey, who are the team people? Who are the advisors along the way? What's your business plan? Okay, fine. You have 3 months to go. Bring the business plan back. If I like the idea, invest. And if I don't have to invest. Somebody else will invest. If it fails, you can still come back and work with me. Right. That's how we take care of one another.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I mean, let's go back to that 3-day plan for a second. When you sat down with your, mentor as an advisor,
Michael Madnick, he's the man. He's worked for the Gates Foundation. I mean, The man knows people.
Yes. What did you learn in those 3 days? Like, what were you thinking beforehand, and then?
Well, I would say this. What was I thinking? I was thinking a lot. What I didn't think was how to put it on paper. A lot of things look a lot different when they're in your own mind, and a lot of people don't understand it. Yeah. I'm a person, like, I still keep notes. I still use the sticky notes on my MacBook Pro when I'm writing notes. People are like, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, I don't put it always in a CRM. I just put those sticky notes. So sometimes it's important to take the sticky notes that you have in your mind and put it to a plan on paper so that everybody else that's a part of the world that you're moving into can see the direction. Because believe it or not, and I know everybody's got their own opinion about, they think everybody gets them. Not everybody gets you, right? Not everybody understands the way that you're thinking. And sometimes you have to put it on paper for people to be able to ask the question, because everybody's got a different perspective. And so that was one of the most important things that happened over the 3 days.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So when players come up, quick anecdote. I've been really impressed with Andre Iguodala in the NFL and the NBA, but he's come to us and said, like, he wants to meet, awesome founders and awesome investors. He wants to get into tech, and he wants to get into fashion, and he's kind of building his persona outside of basketball. When you talk to athletes, whether it's NFL players who just retired or are thinking about it, what's the core advice you give them for how to build a life outside of football?
Well, I go back to before. Look at the people that are around you and look at the people that have taken good care of you, and be curious. I think that's one piece of life. I mean, it's very simple. It's be curious. Ask the question. Don't wall yourself off from opportunity because you just don't understand it. Invest time and energy in it, because that might be a path that you want to go down. That might be something that you might be interested in. Talk to people. Identify with those that are around you. Reach out to people. It all comes down to a certain level of curiosity, because a lot of times, You know what you know, but you know a lot more of what you don't know. And if you can be humble enough in order to ask people enough questions or to be curious about it, then you can find yourself in some very, very powerful situations.
Yeah. When you hear the word success, who comes to mind and why? Like, who's someone you see as successful in a way?
Success. Oh man, that's a good question. So you're just talking about one person? I mean, because I just talked about Branson. You know, I'd say success. I mean, here's a guy that just took a chance, didn't have, I think he was selling records out of the back of his car, and going across country lines and city lines, and I'd say that's sort of like the ultimate entrepreneur's dream, where you knew that a lot of people, you knew what you wanted to do. A lot of people didn't believe that you're crazy enough to do it, but you did it anyways, and you did it on your own dime, and you're okay with the fact that, look, I'm about to go out here and risk it all. I mean, I'd say that's a guy that is successful. He was in a very uncomfortable situation, and he made very uncomfortable decisions that turned out very comfortable for him. Now, I've never made it to Necker Island. I would like to. If anybody knows how I can get to Necker Island, I would love to get there.
I'll look you up after this call.
I would love. Thank you so much. But I would say that's a guy that's successful. I mean, this success is there's just so many people that you look around that you look up to that are successful.
Yeah. How has your family, if at all, played a role in your life post football? Are they involved in any of your businesses or?
My family?
Yeah.
My parents?
Any
they're involved. Come on. You got to talk to your mom. You got to talk to your dad. You got to talk to your family.
Are they business people themselves, or were your parents?
Yeah, my mom, she was a physician. She was one of the first African-American female anesthesiologists in the military. She was a lieutenant commander, and I'm very proud of her. I got to go to her retirement party, and there's about 500 people there. 500. And which was amazing about that, and this goes back to, what do you want to be known for, right? All of the people that were there, large in part people of color, had been through the medical world because of her, because she opened up the opportunity for them to go into private practice, or whether they were working in military or whether they were working at a hospital. I mean, she provided them the opportunity. And so when I look at what she was able to do, I look to myself, I'm like, I hope that many people show up at my retirement party.
Yeah.
Actually, when I retired from the NFL, there was only 20 people at my retirement party because I went sailing, and that was as many people that could fit on a boat.
Awesome.
But yeah, so my family's involved, and I think a lot of people say, you want to, don't never get involved in business with your family. I would say yes and no. A lot make sure you have in the very front, in the very beginning, a list of expectation and what people are supposed to do. If they're not, everything is based on a contract. Get in, but they say hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
I think that could be the same way in terms of partnerships too, right?
Yeah.
Take your time on establishing partnerships. When things are not going well, make sure you try to figure out the best way to get out of it as quick as possible.
When did you know that you were going to make the NFL, that you were like so good?
Me? I didn't even know I was good at football.
What?
I thought I was just this wily kid that was at Michigan, and then all of a sudden Eric Mays, people call him Zeus. Actually, right now it's Professor or Dr. Eric Mays. A lot of people didn't, a lot of people had a different perception of me playing the game than I even had of myself. Like, I was just out there just having fun, making plays, getting in fights. Oh man, I used to rip people's face mask off. You like that? Give me some more high fives. Come on. Oh, there you go. There you go. 700. Wait, what's the most amount of high fives?
This is a record.
Come on. I need more. Throw them out there. There you go. Almost 800. Come on, 800. 812, 115. Yeah, there you go. You got something. 125, 805, 50, 62, 63, 67, 900, 999, 999. Let's go. 999. I want to get to 1,000. Need to get to 1,000. No, answer the question. Need to get to 1,000. You said what?
You've been to some auctions before. You got the voice for it.
Oh, I like being an auctioneer. I actually studied being an auctioneer.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
That's all. Yeah, you got it.
I listen to them, you know. You got 100, got 100 over here, got 100 over here, got 100, got 150, 150, 150, 150. You got $200, we got 200. Would you give me 200? Would you give me 200? Would you give me 200? I got 150 over here. Would you give me 200? I got 150 over here. Would you give me 200? 200, 200. Would you give me 250? 250, 250. Would you give me 250? 250. Would you give me 250? I got 200 over here in the right hand corner. I got me 250, 250. See, things like that. What was the question again?
When you knew you were going to make the NFL.
Yeah, you know, I was in the defensive meeting room. I looked at the play and I was like, man, I'm pretty good. And Professor or Dr. Eric Mays said, he's like, yeah, you're a baller. I was like, I don't even know what that means. Baller. I mean, I didn't grow up necessarily understanding certain vernacular. I was like, baller. What does that mean? I can hold a ball. He's like, no, you're good at football. I was like, oh, yeah, that thing. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I can go play in the league. And got calls and went to the combine, got drafted, and went to New York and played for the Giants. And guess who owns the Giants? Yes, a Michigan family. Thank you very much. Which is lovely. High fives all across the board. So that's when I knew that I wanted to play football. It wasn't something that I had a plan for, but it was something that I was ready for. And I think that's another good piece of advice, right? You're not always going to know what's around the corner, but if you are curious enough and you're surrounded by enough good people and you've worked hard enough, you'll be prepared for anything. You know, I think that's relevant. Whether you're in Brazil, someone's online from Brazil, California, someone's in Canada, people are in the UK, people are in Germany, across the world. I love that. That's awesome. I wish I could speak in Deutsch. In Brazil, I don't know any Portuguese. I'm so sorry. There's no one in Mexico, Florida. This maybe the Keys of Cuba. I don't know. Maybe someone's down there. Canada. What do people say in Canada? Different things. Yeah. So I wish I could tell everybody that different languages. Does this translate to different languages?
Not directly, but
no.
Bet
nobody in Australia. I don't see around the map. Is anybody in Australia? I'm looking. Oh, someone's in China, I think, or India.
Do you speak any languages?
Huh?
Speak any other languages?
I don't know. I can say ni hao in Chinese.
No Spanish?
Spanish. I can say eins, weins, German. I can speak a lot of languages. I'm really good at Spanish. I'm just messing around. I learned my Spanish.
Someone asked this earlier in the conversation with Martin Luther King happening, earlier, Martin Luther King Day rather. Where is the state of, and you mentioning, where is the state of kind of race in America right now?
Ooh, that's a heavy question. Heavy. I'd say that, along with so many other things, was at a critical point where, never before have we had so much information and so much knowledge and been made aware of so many injustices in the world, right? For a long time, things could go swept underneath the rug and people would never be the wiser because there wasn't amazing things like technology and the great work that people have done online and people have done offline. Some of your friends have worked on some amazing businesses that have changed the game. I mean, when you have Obama and you have the White House going out to talk to those at Apple trying to figure out, okay, we need your help. I mean, that's changing the game, right? But also lets you know that there's a lot of information that's out there. And so going back to your question, where are we? I think we're at a pivotal point. I mean, people are upset. People are fired up to make change happen. and change has to occur in multiple different ways. And I by far do not know all the ways. Number one, they have to change with you and I. Okay, that's one. Number two, they have to change policy. I mean, they have to change through business, and they have to change through capital, and the thing about it, and they have to change through social, and the thing about it is those are five ways they need to change out of 5,000, right. And only when all those 5,000 truly come together does change actually happen. Now, if you think about it from a Ray Kurzweil perspective, yes, I did just drop Ray Kurzweil. Thank you very much. And you think about synchronicity, and you think about where things actually, if we look back, say one of us is fortunate enough to live 200 years from now, which who knows, maybe it's possible because someone tomorrow could come up with this way that you can live for 200 years. Would this moment, or would this past year, or even this year moving forward, be sort of that moment, or that point of singularity, right? Where everything essentially just flipped. Right. Where technology provided information, and information provided power, and power created commerce, and commerce created capital, and capital changed policy. Right. And then all of a sudden, we got to a better place. I don't know. But things do have to change. And it's just terrible because I live in Ohio, so stuff happened in Cleveland. I'm from Baltimore. I know what happened there, and Minnesota. There's so many different places that have so many things that are going on. And just think, for all the places that we know of racial injustice, there are thousands of places that we don't know.
Right. And there's a tension between, Jesse Williams, the actor from Grey's Anatomy, was saying that a lot of, celebrities and athletes have this tension between wanting to speak up, but at the same time not wanting to risk sort of, their business involvement, because people may not, businesses may not want to support people who are too vocal. Do you feel that tension? Is that?
No, I would say it's my coach, Lloyd Carr from Michigan. He always said at some point you have to plant your feet, stand your ground, and make a statement about who you are and what you believe in. Right? Who wants to hang out with the person that just rides the fence the entire day? Get off the fence. Here's some other advice. Get off the fence and have an opinion. Get off the fence and stand up for something, right? Regardless of what it is, just take a position. They say it all the time. I do some TV shows, and when I do stuff on CNN, they're like, you got to take a position. We don't want you out here if you're flip-flopping. If you watch Fox News, CNN, if you watch MSNBC, they all have a position. If you watch TNT, if you watch NBC, if you watch ESPN, across the board, they all have a position. Take a position on something that you believe in. So yeah, there's always going to be people that may not like you. Maybe you don't really want to do business with them in the first place. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with going out, and just ruffle things up a little bit. It's fun that way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm, with this closing down, do you want to take one or two calls from the audience? But before we do that, just want to ask you, do you have any asks of the product and audience? How can the entrepreneurs and investors here help, what you're working on? Or do you, or any advice or parting words you want to?
Parting words or advice? Oh, man. Let's see. Parting words or advice? I have so much. Okay. Number one, be curious. I think you can never be curious enough. There's so many things that you can change, that you can work on, that you can be a part of in this world. And if you're not curious enough, the impact that you were so strongly wanting to happen may pass you by. Be curious. With that also being said, be open. I think we live in a world where we're so open, but at the same time, we're so closed. We spend so much time on our phone that we run into people that are walking right into us. that are walking right in front of us. It's amazing. I was walking into Starbucks the other day. Yes, I did just talk about Starbucks. I love their flat white, whatever. And this girl was on her phone and she was walking towards me. I knew she was going to hit me. I said, look up. So be curious and be open. Mm-hmm. Put the technology away sometimes in order to just recognize the world that's around you. It's kind of funny. It's like, I'm a runner. Not really, but I think I am. I have this vision of me running like an ultra marathon. If anybody wants to run an ultra marathon, reach out to me. I'll run with you, or just help me through it. It's like when you run. All right. So when you drive around town, you see the world only in one way. But when you run, you see the world in a completely different way. And it's the same thing when you put your phone down and you look around, you see things in a completely different way. And it's because you're open. So be curious and be open. That's 2 forms of advice. And I say third, I don't want to say, I just came up with it, embrace the haters, but I don't think that's right, because I think haters I don't think people use that word anymore. I think I'm very past my time. But I can say embrace the haters. Yeah, it's like there's going to be a lot of people, if you're curious and you're open enough, that shoot you down. And there's a lot of people that'll be around you that say that you can't do it. And I think someone gave me the quote. Oh, this is a great quote. You never saw planes always take off into the wind. Woo! Did you hear that? Planes I didn't get any high fives because of it. Planes always take off going into the wind. Get it? Because you need lift. Lift comes from an opposing force. That opposing force are people that say that you can't do it. So when someone says you can't do it, that should just provide more air and more lift, more buoyancy. Bernoulli's principle. Yes, I did just drop Bernoulli's principle. Thank you very much. Okay. Lift.
Give us all about that Lloyd Carr gave you. That man, he seemed like a smart guy.
Oh, man, Lloyd Carr. I'll tell you, how about a story? So Lloyd Carr provided me probably the most amount of lift ever, because he told my mom that I probably should just walk on. And then my mom said, well, if he's not going to walk on here, he's probably going to just end up going to the University of Washington, and then he'll come back and beat you guys in the Rose Bowl. Because my son has pretty much like this chip on his shoulder, right? Yeah. So then he somehow, in this conversation with my mother, gives me a scholarship. And we go play in the Rose Bowl, national championship, University of Michigan against Washington State, albeit. But how ironic, synchronistic that was. So I would say this, like, he gave me a lot of advice in my life, but he gave me the biggest resistance that I fought through, and that I allowed that to be the jumping off point. Because albeit, my parents gave me a tremendous upbringing, I've had a lot of great experiences, but going back to Michigan, and as well as I do, it's the greatest university in the world. And to be able to play football there provided me a great opportunity to learn not only about the game, but most importantly about life and myself. And that even so allowed me more opportunity to be more curious and more open, and to know that embrace the haters.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it. And I'm willing to put the time and energy into doing it. Now we're at 1742. Can we somehow get up to 2,000? I need people to give me high fives, claps. We're almost up to 2,000. If we get 2,000, I will be so happy, and I can add that to my legacy. We got to 2,000. Oh, look at that, 2,000. Almost 2,100. That is fantastic. What do you think about that?
That is embrace the haters, 2,000. That is a good place to close. I want to be respectful of your time. Did you want to take one call from? We have someone calling in, or
call in. Let's go.
Let's
oh, that's Keith. Is that Keith? Keith Donahue?
Let's see.
It's got to be Keith.
Is it your boy?
Yeah, I can't hear him though. Oh, Keith Donahue. That's high school right there. What's up, Keith?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm hanging. What's going on? Man, this is crazy. Look at this. This is nuts. Where's everybody from Churchill?
Churchill's
Where's
in
the
the
high
house.
fives from Churchill? Look, we just got some huge numbers. People from all over the place. High fives all over. What's up, Keith? Talk to me. Ask me a question. Blast from the past.
I mean, I wish you didn't take the football route and took the soccer route and played on the national team.
Hey, you remember that cross kick that I had where I scored the goal? Hey, I was all right at soccer, but this guy right here, Keith, he is a man. He is a man. And yeah, well, I'll tell you what, in Maryland, Churchill had the best soccer team, hands down.
Yep, keep it coming.
Yeah, I know, I got you. Yeah, I know. Then he went to Richmond, played on the Spiders.
There you go.
Guys got an amazing clothing company, Kavala. So, what's up, man?
Good to hear from you. Good to see that you're doing good in the world. Yeah.
You got a question for Dhani, Keith?
Yeah, D. So I did a tour where I volunteered in across the nation at 50 different nonprofits in every state, and they say when I came back from it, the reporters ask me all the time, like, "Hey, what do you think the biggest issue is in America?" And I said, "Abolish all nonprofits." And they thought I was crazy. And I said, basically, the root issue at anything, education, environment, all comes down to the individual kid at age 1 and 2, where they're going to be. They're going to have that support. So family has gone away. And I just heard you talk about social media. People don't even care anymore. They're looking down and not taking care of looking at their loved ones. So
yeah,
at that young age, what is the most important thing that we can do for the kids that are the future, that take care of everything?
Oh, well, I mean, one of the things I can automatically shout out here in Cincinnati and throughout Ohio is we have Preschool Promise, which is going on the ballots hopefully this year, which will allow every young person, and obviously they're not 1 or 2, but every kid to have access to preschool throughout the entire state, which would be awesome. But to teach a kid at 1 or 2 is to teach them that to go outside. I think that's one of the most important things. Teach them to go outside. I think teach them an environment of inclusivity, and I think an environment of people and getting to know one another. I think that as parents, sometimes what happens is you spend so much time focusing on things that you don't spend enough time with them, and you don't even realize that you might have technology in your hands where you don't even acknowledge them. So I think that it's going outside, it's being able to be spend personal time. And then socialization, so that you can understand that it's a community of people that it's a community of people, and it's the relationships that are developed out of that community that will allow us all to be successful. And I think going back to what you're saying in terms of nonprofits to be abolished, I wouldn't go so far as to say all of them need to be abolished. I would go so far as to say that out of 1 million nonprofits, there's probably only 5.
Right. And I do the extreme.
And I would say that out of those million, not everybody's gonna have the money. So if you can all essentially work together, we can all achieve that greater goal of giving back. And that's why with Bowtie Cause, we work with countless, over 200 different nonprofits all across the country to help them raise money so that we too can raise money. So that we're always thinking about the greater good while we can partner together so that we can help each other raise money, and we can help, fight whatever cause that we might be equally working on.
I dig it.
Keith Donahue, that's what I'm talking about.
Keith, thank you for the question.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you later.
Later.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Dhani, I want to respect your time, man. I know you got a ton of stuff to do.
I appreciate it, man. This has been awesome. We got 2,500 hand claps. We got 333. So together we almost got 3,000. I mean,
fantastic conversation.
This is awesome. I'm so happy that I was able to, and maybe one day I'll be able to do something important.
Yeah, when you have, your next big investment, next big company, next big whatever, come back.
Yeah. Check out keycapital.com. I mean, that's what we invest from.
People find you.
So you can check out keycapital.com. Our creative agency is proclamation.com or vmgcreative.com. Don't forget, if you're involved in the nonprofit space, Bowtie Cause, bowtiecause.com. And if you're reaching out to me on Twitter, it's Dhani Jones. If you're on Instagram, that's D0057, because I'm going to be the first Black James Bond. Forget Idris Elba. I'll be the first.
You could be the first Black. You got the James Bond book.
D0057. So check that out. But just don't forget, open, curious, embrace the haters. Know that no airplane takes off. Every airplane takes off into the wind.
Perfect.
Thank you. If you don't forget that, everybody's going to be flying together.
And when speaking of that, when you come to San Francisco, come hang with us. Give us a.
I'll be out there for the Super Bowl. So I'm thinking the Super Bowl is going to be Arizona. Okay, Arizona is going to win the Super Bowl.
Wow,
that's my thought.
It's a big.
So hit me up, Dhani Jones on Twitter. And then just throw all your. I know people are going to. You're just idiot. You're dumb. No, you don't know what you're talking about. All right, fine. I'll see you in San Francisco. I'll see you at the ESPN party, the DirecTV party. I'll see you at all those parties out there. Eric, I'll check you later.
Perfect. Peace, Dhani. I'll talk to you soon. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
This has been an episode of Product Hunt Live. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out. Give a shout out to Dhani on Twitter. Follow him. And see you all later. Bowtie. It's all about it. Take it easy. Bye, everybody. Peace. Peace out, everybody. Another episode of Product Hunt Live. Thank you all for watching. Follow Dhani on Twitter. That was a fantastic episode. One of my favorites on the Blab so far. Thanks to the Blab team for putting this on. Spencer, Hannah, Sean, Brittany, everybody over there, the whole Product Hunt team that made this possible. And I'll see you in another episode of Product Hunt Live. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.